boulders when I was younger, and I'm a gymnastics coach now, so some say I was pretty good. But, yeah, I just like bouldering because it's definitely challenging, like the most challenging to me, because I've been climbing for like 3 years now, and I still don't think I'm a very good climber. Like, I'm strong, and if somebody tells me what to do, most of the time, I can do it. But if I am just to get on a problem by myself, I have no idea what to do. I'm like, like I do all the wrong things. So I think for me, I like the challenge that I'm not good at it, and it's like really like bouldering is a puzzle, right? Like there's a specific way almost for every problem to do it that makes it the easiest to do, right? You could obviously do it other ways if you're strong enough to skip a move or whatever, but that's called the beta. There's usually a set beta for like every bouldering problem, and I am super bad at figuring that out, so I'm hoping with more experience that it becomes one of my strengths. I don't know if that's a skill you can learn, because my boyfriend, he can just like look at the wall, and like a lot of people that I know can just look at the wall or like watch me climb something and have never touched the problem, and are like, oh, you need to do this and this and this, and like super specific beta, right? And while I'm on the wall doing it, I don't even know. Okay, anyway, let's continue. So I personally like outdoor bouldering, but like a new big thing is bouldering in gyms, right? So I am gonna take some videos for you guys while I'm talking to show you the different holds in the gym, but I don't have anything of outside, so I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about that real quick. So I live in New York and I climb in the Adirondacks mainly. Yes, I love the Adirondacks. And I've got a few projects that I really wanted to get this year until I hurt my ankle. And then I hurt my ankle again. So athletes rest. And my projects were in this place called Snowy Mountain. It's in the Adirondacks. I love Snowy. Snowy has a lot of like powerful climbs, and climbs that usually aren't found in New York. Like it has lots of Wacos, which Wacos are really large pockets in rocks that were made from like the mineral is weaker, so it erodes faster than the other rocks, so it just leaves these huge holes, which are super fun to climb in. I personally love pockets. Like I'm not as strong in fingers, but I'm really good at pockets. I don't know why. But yeah, I love Snowy Mountain, and my two projects, one of them is called Coitus. It's a V6, and I was fairly close until a potato chip crimp, if you know what I'm talking about, broke off of the problem. And so I haven't been able to get I definitely prefer outdoor bouldering because it's a great way to like spend a day, to be outside when it's nice weather and you're doing something and you're like working hard, and yeah, it's great. If you've never tried it and you've only done indoor bouldering, I highly, highly recommend. Let's talk about equipment. So I have different shoes that I use for different things. So for example, I don't know if you can see, but there's a big hole in the toe of this one. And that's just from overuse. They're old pair, maybe like a year and a half now. But yeah, these are my Evolves. I have 2 pairs of these, so since these ones have the hole in them, I use these for warm-up. So outside, inside, I always bring them with me. I can't stop using them. I feel like I love them, so I don't want to get rid of them. So I just keep using them to warm up in. Just climb like easy things, like probably 1 to 4, like be 1 to 4 in these, and then once things get a little harder, I'll put my other shoes on. That hole's even worse. You can actually see my toe in that one. So here are my newer Evolves. Definitely more sharp. These are my favorite shoes still. I will wear them anytime I am projecting something that I think is hard. My Sportiva shoes, my Solutions, which are a very aggressive shoe. You can see this toe here. I really only use my Solutions when I'm climbing something on an overhang, because it's got a really aggressive toe right here, so I can really dig my toes in there. And an overhang is when the wall is kind of like this, so you're climbing upside down, right? You're like upside down and you're climbing up the wall. So it's good to use something a little more aggressive. So it's got good for toe hooks, good for heel hooks. It's just a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, I'll really only use these on an overhang climb. And then we have the chalk bucket. The chalk bucket. a large bag, whereas the little ones that you clip on are honestly just kind of annoying to get chalk out of. Even when I'm sport climbing, I use that one on the ground because it's, I don't know, maybe I just have big hands. Alright, now this is the fun part. We are going to talk about different holds. So this is where the video gets a little more, like, informative. I really like that sound. I'm sorry if you don't. Was that one too loud? Was that one too loud? That was too loud. Should I see if my cats want to come in? Okay. They're both just laying in their bed. And when I opened the door, they looked at me like I was an idiot. They're just like, okay, I love cats. Or people too. Okay, so different types of holds. I will show you videos of each of these and some examples of me climbing at the gym while we are still doing this ASMR chat at the same time. So let's start with the first one, a jug. So a jug is usually used on the easier problems, anything from V1 to V3. Or if there's like a dyno on a harder problem, but a jug is any hold that has a nice deep spot in the middle for you to fit your fingers into so you can grab it with your whole hand. So it curves down like a dish almost. So that is a jug. Jugs are really nice resting spots, or really good for beginner climbers to be able to actually hold on, because when you start out, like beginner climbers, we don't have a lot of finger strength, right? So the jug allows you to use more of your forearms, your arm strength than just your fingers. A crimp is pretty much the opposite. A crimp is any hold that is using only the first pad of your fingers. So like this, if that makes sense, right? So that would be a crimp. You can hold crimps in different types of ways. You can full crimp it, half crimp, open crimp. You should really only use a full crimp when you're climbing a project and you really don't want to slip off. I think that training in full crimp isn't really good for your tendons. But crimp for me has been one of the most like painstaking tasks to build up muscle and even tendon strength. It just takes a really long time to get to the level where you can support your entire body weight on just the very tips of your fingers. So that's a crimp. Oh my god, my least favorite. Slopers. Boo. I hate slopers. I have very bad sloper strength, whatever muscle that is. Somebody please help. I can't do slopers. So a sloper is like this. It has a negative slant to it, essentially, when it's on the wall, or it's flat, not like an edge, but it has to be negative. So what that means is if the wall is here, right, if this is the wall, it can't be parallel to it. It has to be negative, right? So that's what a sloper is. And usually it's like round and not a lot to grab onto and just slippery and the most terrible hold that could ever be found in the climbing community ever. last thing mentioning, there's the arete. Arete, 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 arete. So the arete is any edge of the wall or the rock. So like, think of it like a side. Usually rocks aren't smooth, round rocks, boulders, right? There's like edges, jagged edges, like a square or something. And so the outside or the edge of that, where it turns the corner almost, is called the arete, which of course you can use to help you in the problem as well. So, those are some of the, or most of the basic rock climbing holds that you would find in a gym or outside. Let's talk about a little bit of like basic movements. Again, like really getting technical here. I guess they're not basic, they're kind of advanced. But if you're learning how to climb, you will start to know some of these words and use them like in every single climb. You use at least one of these if you are a climber. So let's start with the one I use, or everyone uses probably the most. It's a drop knee. It's called a drop knee, at least in English. I think it's called something fancier. But it's a drop knee, so it's exactly what it sounds like. It's any time that you're climbing where you drop your knee and turn your hips into the wall to help you get more distance to reach to the next hold. So you're dropping your knee down and in, twisting your hips towards the wall. So that way the hold you're trying to reach to becomes closer because you're angling your body the correct way. So I'd use drop knees even when I'm climbing easy things. It's just a really good move to practice slowly all of the time. And again, it's used in almost like 60% of problems that I climb, probably more. Super, super important to orient your hips the direction you want to go, or the opposite direction you want to go. Just using that drop knee really helps. Another basic movement, let's talk about heel hooks and toe hooks. So I'm going to use a shoe to demonstrate. So if you're doing a toe hook, you're going to use the top of the toe, this part, on the wall, and you're essentially pulling your toe back towards your body, locking your leg in, locking your toe, and that's called a toe hook. It's to help you stay on the wall, right? So if you are grabbing for something way over here and you need some kind of body tension to keep your feet on the wall, you can use a toe hook to really keep yourself on there. Toe hooks are tricky. It honestly takes a lot of like shin strength that you didn't know was a thing. But yeah, you use that part. For a heel hook, you obviously use the heel. They're a little bit, I'd say easier to perform. You heel hook and you hold anything you want, the corner, the wall, the hold, it doesn't matter. And you just, so here's a hold. You're just gonna heel hook, and you always want to pull your heel back in towards your crotch. That's what you want to think, that you're pulling in. That you're pulling in towards your crotch. No matter how weird that sounds, that's really the best way to heel hook, no matter what direction your body is that's the angle you want to be pulling down through your heel using your hamstring and your calf. A few more that are a little less known, but definitely worth mentioning. Well, there's dyno. Everyone knows a dyno, I think. That's where you are leaving a hold with two hands to grab another one. So you're here maybe on a jug and you're dynoing to another jug, so you do a big pull and grab on and then reach up to the next hold. So that's an undercling. And then you've got a side pull. If you had a hold sideways like this, right? So you're holding it sideways and say I'm going that direction, right? I'm going that way. My feet are gonna be over there. So I'm doing something called a layback. So I'm leaning essentially onto this side pull. So that way, instead of using just strength, I'm really just using my own body weight to keep me on the wall by pushing my feet over here and just laying onto this hold. It becomes a really good hold, right? Rather than if I were to try and just hold it like this, my body weight's right here, so I can't hold something sideways like this. But if I lean back onto it, it becomes almost like a jug. I know this is kind of a lot of information all at the same time, but I can't help it. I get so excited about all of this stuff. It feels nice to kind of share. And maybe it might help you if you're just getting into bouldering, and also seeing the different holds and different body movements. It might help you climb if you're just starting out. So one last thing I just wanted to mention. There are different angles of a wall, and they are called different things, if that makes sense. So outside there's a lot of slab. So slab is more foot oriented, right? It's about balancing a lot, and usually the holds are a lot smaller because you're essentially just standing on your feet. So slab is when a wall is past 90, past perpendicular. Yeah. So you're straight up and down. For it to be slab, it's either straight up and down or past perpendicular. So you're climbing on it this way. This way. This would be an easy slab, right? Because it's like just walking up a hill. Right? A little harder slab, really balancing, if that makes sense. I do like slab, even though I'm not great with my feet. I still enjoy it. I think it's a challenge for me. And I'm good at balancing. I'm good at flexibility as well, which a lot of times in slab can honestly help. And then again, we talked about overhang. So that's when a degree is like 20, 30, 40, 60. So here's regular, and then it just keeps angling more and more and more and more down. And you're climbing on the underside of the wall instead of on top. You're climbing on the underside of the wall. And so outside overhangs are extremely, extremely difficult, to be honest. In the gym, they can be made a little bit easier because you can use good holds. But overhangs outside are really hard. I would say my favorite style of wall is probably just slightly overhang. Not a lot, but just slightly overhang. Both of my projects at Snowy are actually both slightly overhang. So I definitely think that would be my style. But everyone has a different style. That's something that if you are climbing or getting into climbing that you will learn, because you could be climbing with someone that's better than you, right? But a lot of climbing is relative based on that person's style, so maybe they're not good at powering through a dyno, and you can do a problem that they can't, even though they are technically a better climber. A lot of stuff is relative, and I think that's why I like the sport so much, right? Climbing with someone that has a different strength from you can be really, really helpful, because you can try and learn to make that your strength as well. And they can also learn from you, right? So I just really love the climbing community in that sense, to where I feel like everyone is kind of just there to help everyone else out. You know, like other climbers want you to know the wealth of knowledge that's in their brain. So if they see you climbing it can be a good spot to just hang out with friends. So I totally recommend that if you have not tried rock climbing before, you find your nearest gym and you go try it. Bring your friends, bring your family, go by yourself. Somebody will talk to you there, I promise you. And it's also really fun to help to watch yourself improve. It takes time. It takes so much time. But it's really satisfying when you've been projecting something for a week, a month, and you finally get it. That's proof that you've mentally and physically grown stronger, and I think it's just one of the most accomplishing sports out there. So go give it a try. You will be addicted to it, I promise you. With that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something, or you just enjoyed listening to me talk about what I enjoy doing. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest